Watch this.
Coming up on this Friday on the 208. As the drama continues in the West Bonner School District, 2 board seats remain empty. And after the board monthly meeting was pushed off because of a no-show, well, what happens now? Unusual test scores prompted the State Board of Education in Idaho to take a closer look, and they found that students in the state are actually testing better than the data indicated. We'll explain what we found. Friday Night Lights. Yeah, it's game day for the Boise State Broncos football team. Jay Tust is in San Diego as the boys from the Blue prepare to take on the San Diego State Aztecs. Clock is ticking. Well, actually, a lot of clocks are ticking. But if you're keeping track of the West Bonner County School District, this is the story for you. The Board of Trustees is yet to have a meeting this month in September, as required by law, partially due to a temporary restraining order stopping the board from meeting earlier this month to remove 2 recalled trustees, but also to do the school board failing to have a quorum on Wednesday. Only 2 of the 3 remaining trustees showed up, which is a good reason to bring in our Andrew Bartline right now, who talked to one of those trustees that Wednesday had a lot of high interest on their meeting, but what happened there?
Yeah, well, those agenda items specifically drew a lot of interest leading into it, specifically relating to their superintendent, Brandon Durst. The school board hired Durst in June, even though the State Board of Education says he is not qualified for that position. The school board was supposed to address that in the meeting, but trustee Troy Reibold, a supporter of Durst, failed to show up. And as long as he does, the board cannot move forward, but legally they have to. But they can't. They don't have quorum. The school board has 90 days to fill those 2 vacant school board seats after the recall election. They do get an additional 30-day grace period until the county commissioners would step in for them. But first, they must declare the seats empty in a formal meeting. And if they can't get quorum to legally hold that meeting, well, we asked the Idaho State Board of Education, how does that work? Well, they directed us to the Idaho School Boards Association, who isn't contracted to work with West Bonner, but they are well aware of what's been happening up north.
I think we're in a unique situation in West Bonner County where you're right that unless they're able to declare a quorum and be able to, actually declare the vacancy, it's certainly going to put a slight delay on their ability to ensure that those constituents are represented by a member of that zone.
Have you seen that happen before it get to that 120-day mark where the county takes over themselves and says, we'll solve this?
It's really rare, I will say that. And honestly, it's something I advise heavily against because it's somewhat abdicating their responsibility to another elected body. And I think it's really important that the school board be able to fulfill that role. But it has happened. It is super rare.
So when does the clock start for that 90-day or 120-day countdown? Perry also says that's unclear. State code for a recall election says the clock starts when the county certifies those election results. In this case, that would be September 7th. But other state law says the board must declare the vacancy, which some interpret to be when the clock starts. Superintendent Durst prides himself on saving money, so he asked Perry for some free advice. She says, get to work now. At least West Bonner trustees, one of them, I should say, told us that's exactly what she's trying to do.
What is this doing to our potential, from a legal standpoint, from a financial standpoint, from a risk assessment standpoint? What does this do by keeping us constantly in this limbo? And I don't think it's doing us any good.
And so
But that school board meeting didn't happen.
But that is why we had to cancel it.
What happened there?
I was not aware that a trustee Reinbold was not going to attend until the morning. I did not want to go back and forth and cancel. I did reach out to him a couple of times during the day to try to encourage him to attend. We did not have a quorum, and so we did have to cancel that meeting.
Is Brandon Durst currently the superintendent at the West Bonner County School District?
He continues to fill that position, yes.
When I looked through the agenda, there's a piece there about dismissing an officer based on credentials. Was the plan to address his position with the district through that agenda item?
it was an opportunity to have that conversation, to look at it. It's broadly, it looks at evaluation, dismissal, resignation. I mean, it looks at, there's a whole bunch of things that were there within that component. It was left open for the Board of Trustees to talk about it. And realistically, we could have taken no action.
Do you have any concerns moving forward about an inability to meet quorum, consecutive meetings into the future, and maybe not meeting duties that you're obligated to meet?
I would hope that, again, we can have a quorum. We're noticed a meeting for Wednesday, this coming Wednesday. I'm hoping that we'll end up agreeing to do is move the executive sessions to the end so we can move through more of the business component of the agenda first.
Yeah, and I understand one of those items being teacher contracts. Are teachers working right now without contracts, and that's something you guys need to sort out?
We are in the middle of negotiations and finalizing the negotiated agreement and the contracts, because normally they can be rolled over very simply. But because we are we went from 5-day to 4-day, there's some issues there. But I think we've got to keep functioning as a district. And there are 3 members on the board. The county commissioners function with 3 members. So it's not undoable.
The West Bonner County School District posted their agenda for next week. That would be set for Wednesday. The agenda is the exact same as that previously canceled meeting, and the same goes as before, Joe. All 3 trustees need to be in attendance to meet quorum so they can sort out their regular business, the future of the district with Superintendent Durst, if he's that guy going forward, what decision they may or may not make, and then, of course, those 2 trustee seats to fill as well. And they have to have a meeting this month, also in accordance with state law. So again, clock's ticking, they got work to do.
Is there any answer as to what happens if the end of the month comes, it's October 1st, and there wasn't a meeting?
I'm not exactly positive how that works. What kind of, what would you call it? Mechanism would be put in place. I know that the state could hypothetically restrict funding, but I understand that Durst not being qualified for his job, they're already doing something like that. So I don't know what more they could do, but I'm certain there's something in place, which we certainly will learn about if we get to that point.
And I also know that a part of this, and a major takeaway for me, is there's a lot of unknowns. And that's probably part of the frustration locally up at West Bonner, up at Priest Lake, because they just don't know until it happens.
Yeah, and it seems frustrating for sure when we talk with Margie on the school board up there. She doesn't even have kids in the district.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't exactly have skin in the game personally. This is just something I care about. I think she's been on the board for half a decade or so at this point, maybe a little bit longer.
2015, I think.
2015. And so she didn't want to be in a situation like this. I don't think a lot of people like controversy, right? Nobody looks for it, but they're in a tough spot. They're looking for answers, trying to find answers, but so far we don't have very many with a lot of questions on the table.
All right, well, we'll continue to follow this. Andrew Bartline reporting. Thank you, Andrew. Well, the school year may have just started, but the Idaho State Board of Education already has their sights set on report cards, or rather the state's reading indicator, the IRI scores. The Idaho State Superintendent of Public Instruction's office wrote a letter to districts across Idaho, and it says that the company contracted to conduct the reading test, the IRI, well, they incorrectly assessed at least 1 student in 90% of Idaho school districts and charter schools. Now, this data is used as an assessment tool for students, teachers, and districts to gauge success. Are they making a difference? Are they learning? And it is a performance indicator that is also connected to funding. Yes, so it's a very crucial number, which is why the state superintendent's office says that they were skeptical from the beginning. They say that Idaho's numbers were low, and they're correct. From kindergarten to 3rd grade, the correct analysis shows improvements across the board for all grade levels. Well, the state says that they caught the error quickly enough to where no teacher or districts lost their funding because of the mistake, though they say that some students may have actually started the school year a few weeks ago in lower level classes to get them the extra help that they thought they needed. For example, in the Valley View School District here in the Treasure Valley, there were 9 kids who appeared to be below proficiency. Well, that's now been corrected. They weren't. So some of the extra support for students, well, that's now help that the state realizes they don't need. So they caught the mistake. The IRI has been corrected. 5:09 on a Friday. Thanks for joining us here. I want to tell you that the Chobani plant in Twin Falls, you know about it? That's the largest yogurt producing plant in the entire world. And to make those millions of cups of tangy Greek yogurt, they need thousands of gallons of milk a day. And a lot of that comes from Magic Valley dairies. So to keep that relationship going, Chobani began investing in the future of dairy farming. 5 years ago, the company created the Chobani Scholars Program, and the yogurt giant gives scholarships to students who have some family connection to the dairy industry and who plan to pursue a career in the same industry. And they announced 5 new recipients this week. But before we get to them, we wanted to take you back to the inaugural class of 2018. It's this week's 208 Redial.
At Chobani's plant in Twin Falls, nearly 1,000 employees working 3 shifts a day turn out tons of yogurt. A process that is prompted by 64,000 pounds of raw milk hauled in here by trucks at all hours of the day. Running at full capacity, Chobani can take in 6 million pounds of milk in one day. To keep it flowing and to keep it fresh, Chobani keeps it coming from close by, buying milk from about 50 Idaho farms within a 100-mile radius of this delivery room.
It's why we came here. We wouldn't be here if the dairy industry wasn't as robust as it is here. When Hamdi, our founder and CEO, Hamdi Ulukaya, started looking for a place to locate a second facility, he had certain criteria. It had to be a good business community, there had to be a plentiful workforce available, and there had to be a dairy industry. So it was a trifecta when he discovered Idaho, and the dairy industry has been our #1 partner in this process since day one.
Partnership implies an investment by both parties. Abelardo Vargas, the young man with the pink cane, has certainly put in his share. At this third-generation dairy about a dozen miles outside of Rupert, Idaho, the recent high school graduate has worked off and on for the past several years. Whether it's assisting in the twice-a-day milking or taking some of that milk to feed young calves, the 18-year-old, rain or shine, school or no school, will spend 6 hours a day on the farm. Someday, he hopes to own his own, but these days, Abelardo, or Lalo, as his mom calls him because she couldn't imagine calling her baby boy Abelardo, works in close contact with about 300 head of Holsteins.
There aren't too many kids that would want to do this.
No, that's definitely true. It's hard work, but it teaches you a lot. Sometimes you just have to roll up the sleeves and get dirty.
It's a work ethic Lalo learned from his dad, who used to bring him here to work as a young boy.
Originally, when my dad brought me here, I was like, man, I don't want to do this my whole life. I better start doing good in school. And then I started doing good in school, but I fell in love with this industry. It's taught me so much, and this is where families are truly born, at the workplace. There's not many other places that will give you that family bond at a workplace like a dairy will.
A family farm will do the same thing. On the Diamond Ranch outside of Jerome, Raquel Diamond tries to tend to her calf, Geronimo, one of several animals she chases around on 5 acres.
I guess it's what I've always known. I love animals. I've traveled to big cities before and there's a lot of people. It's really loud.
This is the kind of noise you like.
Yeah.
Not the loud city stuff.
No.
That's fun. Do you name all these guys?
Yeah, so that's Brutus, that's Eleanor, that's Marigold, Daisy, and Petunia.
Raquel also just graduated from high school and wants to turn her love of animals into a career caring for them.
I guess I want to be a veterinarian because not everything always goes perfect. Like, I've had piglets die and stuff like that, and I don't like it, and I never know if I'm doing everything I could. So my goal is to be a vet so that I can. Because there's either be a vet and know how to take care of them or not have any animals. And I really can't see not having any animals, so I decided I better be a vet.
And that's where the Chobani partnership comes in. Raquel and Lalo are two of the first recipients of the company's Scholar Program, a plan to increase their investment in the future of dairy farming in Idaho. And while $20,000 will go a long way at the University of Idaho, it will go even further for a boy honoring his father.
Is that why going to school and then continue on with this is so important for you?
Yeah, it's kind of like a mix of both, like pursuing higher education because that's what he wanted, but staying close to the roots where I came from.
Roots that will then be strengthened in an industry Chobani relies on to fill 8,000-gallon trucks with milk.
Trucks coming, keeps the yogurt coming out the other end of this 1 million square foot facility.
Abelardo Vargas, who you just heard from, graduated from the University of Idaho and was the Student Leader of the Year for 2023. He has found a job in the dairy industry. And some other names we want to tell you about. Raquel Dimont is headed to vet school at Washington State University. On Tuesday, 5 more students at the University of Idaho were awarded a total of $100,000 in scholarships. So here's where it's going. Josiah Knapp is majoring in agricultural science. Camille Merkin is majoring in agricultural economics. Megan Tabor is double majoring in animal science and mechanical engineering. Melody McCann is majoring in animal science, and Madeline Burgoyne is double majoring in water science and forestry. Chobani says all of them are enthusiastic about food production and meeting the challenge of maintaining a safe and sustainable food supply. You have to remember, it takes people to get all that food to the grocery store, so hard work that you may not ever see. 208 returns after this.
Okay, ready to go for the weekend. So, one of my favorite shots, so many of them here in Idaho, especially in the mountains. Here's the May Marina camera as you take a look up here toward the McCall area, and of course they still have clouds up through there. I think that's going to be pretty much the expression for the weekend. Clouds coming in and doing a little or nothing, okay? But they're going to be there. So once in a while we'll see the sun kind of popping through. Today was a beautiful day, 69 degrees, 75 in Ontario. These are the highs so far. 64 degrees for the high temperature in Twin Falls. Most of the mountains had temperatures in the 50s, so the snow that came down in some of those mountain peaks, it's melting somewhat because of some of the not exactly warmer temperatures, but the temperatures were above freezing. Now, if you go down south, here's San Diego, quite a few clouds down there. You know, they have a slight chance of a shower for this evening, just ever so slight. Temperature 68, and in the second half of the game, it's going to be down to about 64. So because of the clouds and overcast, there's very little change in the daytime high and the nighttime low. So just know that. It's going to be actually a pretty nice evening for football. Tomorrow morning, if you're going to be up early, this is 7:15 for your Saturday morning. It's Fit One race, 46 degrees in downtown Boise. It's going to be pretty much clear and chilly. I'm going to show you here how the clouds clear out because we have the storms here to the east. This is our future cast. So here's the forecast. As you look at 11:30 tonight, there it is, all cleared out. It's been clear for most of the afternoon. So for tomorrow, it's sunshine. It continues that way to Sunday till about noon. And then Sunday afternoon, expect the clouds to start to move in. There they are. And there's Sunday into Monday, Monday night and Tuesday especially. There's a slight chance of a shower. We don't really have it in here. It's very low at this point, but we're going to watch it closely. So fall begins tomorrow morning, as you know, just shortly after midnight. So it's just about the first full day. Quite a few clouds we're going to be seeing next week. Even a chance of a couple of showers for Wednesday and Thursday, not quite put into the 7-day forecast at this particular time, but that's what's going to keep those temperatures down. Also, breezy weather begins on Monday and Tuesday as the temperatures drop even into the upper 60s for Thursday and Friday.
All right. Thank you, Rick. Well, fall looks good. Speaking of fall, we are only a few hours away from game time for the Boise State Broncos football team. Broncos are set to square off against the Aztecs of San Diego State. And San Diego is where we find sports director Jay Tust. Jay?
The city of San Diego. It once served as the backdrop for one of my favorite movies of all time, Top Gun. Yes, America's finest city makes you feel the need for speed. The USS Midway is an aircraft carrier that floats on North San Diego Bay. Now a museum, this was the original home of Top Gun. This vessel is a floating city on the sea and a place that the real-life counterparts to Maverick, Goose, and Iceman have called home. Just down the way, you will stumble in and out of a place that will shake your nerves and rattle your brain. Kansas City Barbecue had the keys that helped Maverick unlock Charlie's heart. The food and atmosphere will make you want to scream, "Great balls of fire."
Goodness gracious, great balls of fire.
Goose's piano is still here, by the way.
Hey, Goose, you big...
Forever serving as a reminder to...
Take me to bed or lose me forever.
Show me the way home, buddy.
Just up the hill is the Lafayette Hotel. If you've lost that love and feeling, this is the place you'll find it. Believe me, I know it. Inside, the Mississippi Room served as the site of one of the sweetest serenades of all time, one that me and my buddies pulled off more than once in college. Bring back that love and feeling.
You lost that love and feeling, now it's gone, gone, gone. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
All right, well, what a great week, and thanks so much for joining us. We got a big fall ahead, but let's take a look at some of your comments to end the summer. Hashtag the 208. On the school board stuff up at the Bonneville, how can we be over the school if he's not certified? Just wondering, Bob, thanks. Bob, it's a good question. There's a lot of questions that we have about the situation that have yet to be answered because they were unable to have a meeting this past week. So hopefully we'll find out on Wednesday. I tried to get through the last one. Did Jay drive to San Diego? No, he flew. All right, it's prime time. Have a great weekend.